Drift with me through the bamboo mists of old Japan. Tonight, by the faint glow of lanterns and the hush of distant temple bells, we'll gently slip into the hidden, unsettling truths of samurai life. Let's soften every worry as we walk the moonlit corridors of feudal castles and slow our thoughts to the rhythm of a world where every breath, sound, and touch tells a deeper story, all designed to help you sleep. Let's begin in the hush where day slips into night, where soft petals, light as a wish, whirl on a gentle breeze. Picture yourself here, an ancient footpath winding through misty rice paddies, the air damp and cool as sunset settles over the countryside. The sky, colored in lavender and blush, seems to hold its breath. And somewhere nearby, a lone bell tolls from a hillside temple, each note a promise that another evening has truly begun. Can you feel the change in the air? Step closer, just for a little while. As the sun sets, the world slows down. There's a fresh, almost tingling coolness against your skin, like the first breath stepping from a warm house into twilight. Does dusk make you slow your pace too? Like those evenings in a quiet park here in the US, when every sound, the crickets, the distant laughter, even footsteps, feels gentler, and the world around you more kindly blurred. Here, in feudal Japan, dusk is an invitation. Shadows lengthen beneath ancient plum trees, heavy with a scent both sweet and lightly spicy. Plum trees, called uma, are cherished in Japan for blossoming early and filling the air with subtle fragrance, something like the faint perfume of wildflowers warmed by spring. The petals sometimes flutter onto your sleeve or brush your face, cool and soft, reminding you that, for a moment, you're part of the landscape too. The rice fields lie low and mysterious, shrouded in a delicate fog that glows golden where it catches the last sunbeams. Water glimmers softly, reflecting the changing sky, and frogs croak gently in the wet banks. Lanterns begin to sparkle along distant villages, each flame carefully protected, a sign that homes are preparing for the night. It's a scene at once foreign and familiar, a little like those neighborhood walks many people in the US enjoy at day's end, where porch lights blink on and windows glow with promises of supper and rest. If you pause now, listen. A soft shiver of wind slides past, stirring the leaves, lifting the cherry blossoms into a drifting, delicate snow. As you stand still, you might notice how the coolness gathers, not unpleasant but refreshing, a quiet signal to slow your breathing, to let the silence curl gently around your thoughts. When was the last time a scent, the sharpness of pine or damp earth after rain, made you stop and pay attention to your own senses? As darkness pools in the hollows, colors shift. The grass deepens to emerald, the sky turns a rich indigo, and the lantern's light becomes more pronounced. Against the encroaching night, shadows spread like a woven tatami mat across the paths, making each step feel careful and sacred. In this space, tradition feels alive in every detail. Old stone bridges, wooden gates softened by moss, villagers bowing quietly to night's arrival. A gentle comparison. In some ways, this moment is much like watching dusk fall in a quiet American suburb or park. The unique stillness, the urge to say less and listen more. The way the boundaries between neighbor and stranger seem to soften for a little while. But here, in the world of the samurai, that stillness carries the layered memory of centuries. Deep-rooted custom, the dignity of restraint, and the beauty found in slight fleeting moments. If it feels right, let your mind rest on this first peaceful threshold. Notice the comforting cool of evening caressing your face and arms, the faint whisper of wind inviting you to relax. Picture the glow of lanterns, the slow fall of petals, and, beneath it all, the gentle certainty that darkness can be as comforting as sunlight when honored with care. As the petals swirl and the distant bell calls one last time, let's gently drift onward into the invisible world of ideals and rules that shaped every gesture here. The silent code, Bushido, waiting quietly in the next breath, like a second skin beneath silk and steel. Slip quietly now, deeper into the twilight world where every gesture is guided by an invisible hand. Imagine standing among slender bamboo. Their hollow stalks whisper with each passing breeze, shadows intertwining on the mossy path. As you breathe in, notice a subtle perfume, sandalwood incense, calming and ancient, threading through the air and settling softly around you. Have you ever noticed how a familiar scent can make you feel safe or connected to something bigger than yourself? Maybe the way a parent's shirt or a favorite blanket used to. In this realm, beneath the cherry blossoms and lantern glow, there exists a code so ingrained it shapes every heartbeat, every decision. It's called Bushido, the way of the warrior. Bushido was never a law written on paper for all to read. It was more like a second skin wrapped around the spirit. It taught samurai to live by honor, loyalty, respect, and courage, an invisible armor much sturdier than any steel. The scent of incense thickens as you watch a samurai tie the sash of his kimono, hands careful, motions practiced. No matter what storms rage within or around him, this outer calm must be unwavering. Does it remind you, maybe, of an unspoken rule in your own home? Or those everyday manners many Americans follow? Like lowering your voice in a library, saying please and thank you, returning a smile with a smile? Small things that matter deeply without being written anywhere. Many families in the US, for example, pass down silent codes. The way you check in on older relatives, or carefully set the table for guests, or know, instinctively, when to offer help. Just as those traditions quietly steer your choices, Bushido was a path walked every day, in small and large ways, helping someone up, accepting blame to protect others, or remaining silent rather than boasting when praised. But under this external harmony was true complexity. For a samurai, upholding Bushido wasn't always easy. Loyalty to one's lord or family could mean putting aside personal wants, ambitions, even needs. Sometimes, the urge to speak out or to show emotion had to yield to the great weighty dignity expected of the warrior class. Have you ever bitten your tongue or hidden frustration for the sake of peace in your family or community? There's a certain strength and also a heaviness in doing that, isn't there? Imagine the faint rustle of a heavy robe sliding over cotton, the cool fabric a reminder of roles to be filled. Each time the samurai steps outside, this invisible code walks with him, defining how to greet a neighbor, when to bow deeper, and when to stand firm for justice. Even the quiet folding of hands, the measured pace through a shaded corridor, all echo Bushido's quietly commanding presence. While this tradition fostered connection, responsibility, and dignity, it could also lead to moments of inner conflict. Fulfilling duty sometimes meant moving against personal feelings, sacrificing comfort or candor for the greater good. Have you found yourself struggling to follow a family rule? Or, as many listeners may relate, balancing your own happiness with what's expected at work or school? Bushido, for all its beauty, brought peace to many, but also asked for deep endurance. The subtlety of Bushido is not unlike the atmosphere that hushes a church, a library, or a grandparent's home. A sense that old stories, memories, and kindness hover just out of sight, guiding your every move. The soft scent of incense lingers, an anchor to the past and the peace of the present. If it feels right, linger in this space for a moment. Feel the invisible embrace of tradition, both comforting and gently heavy. Remember, everywhere, people shape their lives according to their own invisible codes, tied together by loyalty and the quiet strength of living on behalf of others. As the incense smoke rises and the bamboo leaves settle back into their patterns, imagine the samurai exhaling gently, conflict momentarily at bay. The rustle of his robe fades as he steps silently into the next ritual, preparing weapons, mind, and body not just for the fight ahead, but for every day's call to steady hands and an even steadier heart. Imagine it's just before sunrise in a samurai household. The air is cool but warming gently, and the tatami mats beneath your feet are firm and slightly springy, grounding you from the very first step. Touch becomes your guide. You can almost feel the satiny smoothness of a fresh robe as it slides over your arms, each fold and seam pressed with care to rest softly against the skin. Do you ever notice how the things you touch in the morning, like the feel of your favorite blanket or the texture of a well-worn shirt, set the tone for your whole day? For samurai, every detail in these first moments mattered. The faintest sound might drift in, the slow, padded footsteps of someone else already awake, making their way to the preparation room. Here, readiness is a quiet ritual, not a rush. With deliberate grace, a samurai sits and lays out his sword, running oiled cloth along polished steel until it gleams. The smell of the oil, a little sharp, a little earthy, hangs in the air, cleansing not just the blade, but the mind. Each sweep of the cloth is a silent promise to be ready, to remain steady. Can you remember a time you prepared something precious in silence, letting every movement help you feel secure and calm? With the sword set aside, the warrior turns to sandals. Woven, soft, the laces worked slowly, fingers moving with a rhythm that brings clarity and focus. The satiny sash knots snug at the waist, neither too loose nor tight, a gentle reminder to hold both comfort and form. The everyday act of getting dressed becomes a meditation, a way of entering the present moment, leaving behind the noise and worries from the night before. For so many of us today, there's a modern parallel. The familiar comfort of lacing up sneakers before a morning stroll, the act of pressing a shirt smooth for an important meeting, or the way we prepare a favorite mug of tea as a small, daily anchor. Just as the samurai focused on textiles and touch, you might take a moment to notice textures around you. The slip of socks, the coolness of a countertop, the grain of wooden furniture beneath your palm. Is there a ritual you follow before bed, or as you greet the day? Something, however small, that brings you back to yourself? Breathing is the last step. Slow, even. Intentional. Before the warrior steps out, he stands still for a heartbeat, hands resting at his center, absorbing the calm. Sometimes he whispers a mantra for strength or draws in a breath scented with the faint aroma of sandalwood from the main hall. Each exhale is a soft letting go of anxiety, of distraction, so that the day can begin with clarity. Do you find yourself pausing in silence just to breathe and center before acting or speaking? You might be surprised how universal these routines are. Just as many people today settle nerves by making their bed, queuing up gentle music, or savoring the first warmth of coffee, samurai found comfort in the repetition and order of readiness. Ritual, whether ancient or contemporary, carries the same purpose, creating a place of security and mindfulness, allowing us to meet what's next from a place of peace. If it feels right to you, take a moment to reflect. What's your favorite relaxing ritual that prepares you for the day or night? Only if you'd like, share your calming routine in the comments. Your gentle practices might just inspire someone else to find a little more calm in their own world too. The day calls softly from just beyond the room. Armor will be laced, gates will open, and quiet resolve will extend into the world outside. Yet it all begins here, in this peaceful readiness, a ceremony of touch, preparation, and silence that steadies the heart for whatever follows. As you imagine the samurai's final breath and nod of resolve, feel yourself gently carried forward into the watchful hush of night patrols and the measured steps that keep peace beneath the darkening sky. Let the scene gently shift now as evening thickens into night, and the warmth of lamplit rooms is exchanged for the cool, exposed quiet outside. Picture a narrow lane lined with old stones, corners fading into darkness, and the narrow glow of lanterns bobbing in practiced hands. The ground is coarse beneath worn leather boots, each step a quiet reminder of duty and the delicate peace that night brings. Have you ever walked outside your house late, the world emptied of its usual bustle? The familiar feels both comforting and a little uncanny when silence paints it new. For the samurai, the night watch is a ritual of steadiness. The softness of the robe is left behind for the sturdy touch of armor or padded coat, strapped snug across the chest, reassuring against the body. With every step along uneven gravel, there's a concentration of attention. Eyes scan the edges of light, watching for the flicker of movement, a shadow too thick or lingering, the quiet threat that dusk sometimes stirs. Hands often rest on the hilt of a sword, not to display power, but as a silent assurance. I am ready, and I protect. The lantern's gentle fire plays along the corridor walls, a glow that both reveals and deepens the mysteries of night. The air is tinged with the scent of burning oil, somewhere between earthy and faintly acrid, comforting in its persistence. Isn't it something, the way a hallway or street you know by heart seems transformed after dark? Just as many people today might find new meanings in the stillness of a late-night walk, hearing the distant hum of a highway, or noticing how light spills from a neighbor's window. The samurai moved through their world alert to subtle sound, scent, and slight shift. Each courtyard and alley holds its own voice. Wind rattling bamboo stalks against eaves, the shuffle of a stray cat or scrambling rat, the irregular click of a jonkoro insect marking time. Sometimes, a nightbird's cry slices sharply through, so precise and startling it seems to etch the quiet itself. Have you paused during a walk to notice how your other senses rise to meet the dark? The chill of air on your skin, the way your breathing feels richer, the distant notes of music or laughter soft as memory? The samurai's mind, trained in calm, catalogs each detail. The flicker and sway of light can mask what hides in corners. An open gate, a shape that does not belong, the threat of danger, or simply an unfamiliar guest unsure of their welcome. But more often, it is the familiar that soothes, the worn grip of a lantern's handle, the subtle warmth of a trusted companion's presence just a step away, the rhythms passed down by those who walked watch before. In these quiet hours, the night is not wholly your own. It belongs to the stories lingering in every stone, to the worries of the households you pass, and to the long tradition of vigilance that shapes the samurai soul. Sometimes, there's a strange beauty to this. The glimmering trail of fireflies skims a garden's edge, or a fragrant breath of blooming moonflowers drifts in, cool and unexpected. If you let your thoughts wander, you might feel a little of what the samurai feel, half on edge, half at peace, awed by the world's quiet transformations. Doesn't night ask us to pay attention in new ways, to hold on to both caution and comfort, to belong to the hush for just a while? Before long, the steady patrol will circle home, boots brushing familiar gravel as the lantern's final oil burns lower. Yet the lessons linger, the careful listening, the gentle vigilance, the embrace of mystery and stillness. As you settle back into warmth and rest, the story will flow naturally forward, toward hearth and family, and the tender ritual of finding home beneath fragile lantern light. Inside the samurai's home, the world narrows to a gentle glow. Picture yourself entering a quiet interior, where walls of rice paper hold the night away, and lanterns cast an amber haze that feels warm, almost smoky. Shadows move softly as family gathers around a low table, pressed together more for comfort than conversation. Do you recognize those moments in your own life, maybe on a winter evening or during a long power outage, when a shared space suddenly feels both safe and strangely distant? The light pools in little halos on the table. A mother ladles broth into small wooden bowls, her wrists moving steadily as steam rises, infused with ginger and a trace of miso. A savory, earthy aroma that clings to the air and fogs the faces of those nearest. The touch of a warm cup between your palms grounds you, heat radiating into your skin, reminding you that, for just this meal, the outside world is held at bay. Whispered voices pass along the table, updates from the day, a small joke, comfort for a child tugging at a sleeve. Yet under this calm surface, something deeper is shared. Can you sense the unspoken? Moments when a glance or a pause means more than words. For the samurai household, as for many families during stressful times in the U.S. today, love is often shown without being spoken. A well-timed refill of tea, the way knees press together beneath the table, the offering of seconds without needing to ask. Children eat in slow, careful bites. A father sometimes breaks the silence to ask about a lesson or to remind a child not to rush. The rhythm is gentle, but now and then a hush falls, a sign of fatigue, or perhaps of something worrying left unsaid. Isn't there a familiarity in this? In many American homes, especially during uncertainty or stress, families draw close in ritual, but may find words harder to share. Love carried in gestures, a quiet proximity that means, I'm here. In this private world, emotional distance and comfort live side by side. The lantern's fragile brightness creates small islands of togetherness, but the corners of the room hold memories, unspoken regret, or the absence of a loved one far away. A sibling may pass a bowl with a soft touch, or a grandmother might wrap a shawl around someone's shoulders, drawing them in wordlessly. There is a tenderness here, sometimes so quiet it can be missed, and sometimes so strong it holds the room together. Notice how the warmth from shared cups seems to soak into the bones, allowing tension to ebb, at least for the space of one meal. The smoky light softens sharp features, blurring the line between shadow and skin, comfort and worry. Beyond the sliding doors, the world is cold and silent, but here, the pulse of the household beats on, a little uncertain, perhaps, but undeniably alive. If you pause for a moment, you might feel the common thread between this samurai home and your own experiences, the silent ways people care, especially when words are hard or hearts are tired. Have you had a moment where the simple act of sitting together, sharing a meal, provided comfort no conversation could? Sometimes the greatest closeness is found in these quiet rituals, in the gentle passing of bowls and the lighting of a second lamp when darkness presses in. As the meal ends, bowls are stacked quietly, and the lantern flickers, threatening to go out. Someone is always quick to adjust the wick, to stretch the small light a bit longer before bed. It's a gesture of hope and patience, an act of love so subtle it nearly slips by unnoticed. Let yourself rest in this glow a bit longer, surrounded by whispered table talk, the warmth of a cup held in both hands, the unmistakable security of belonging even in silence. Soon, the household will part for sleep, moving through corridors where the lanterns flicker and shadows deepen. And so, the story of night flows gently from table to rest, from hushed comfort to dreams, and the unspoken ties that keep every heart close. As you drift with the narration, you'll find yourself stepping into the haunted world of ghost tales and breathless legends, where the uncertainties of darkness breathe new stories into the night's soft hush. Let's let the scene settle into darkness, with only a small wax candle flickering in the middle of a tatami room. The wick pops and crackles, drawing eyes to its gentle flame as it throws tall, swaying shadows across the sliding paper walls. There's an earthy scent in the air, the wet promise of rain drifting in through a lifted shutter, cool and grounding. Have you ever sat in near darkness, the outside world blurred by rain and soft light, while someone's voice spun a story that made your skin prickle? Tonight, whispers gather close around the lowest table, and the household slowly leans in. Japanese ghost stories, called yurei tales, were a favorite way for families and friends to mark rainy nights. Yurei are the spirits of those who died with strong fears, regrets, or wrongs. U.S. listeners might think of them as a cross between Western ghosts and the sadder spirits found in old folk tales, always on the edge between this world and the next. The first story always starts quietly, a low voice breaking the hush as the wick flares. A samurai once crossed a bridge at midnight, seeing a woman dressed all in white, her hair wild and her eyes dark as ink. She asked only one thing: "Have you seen my child?" And though the warrior's heart was brave, his tongue turned to stone. It said he ran all the way home, never looking back. And for years afterward, a pale handprint would appear on his door each time it rained. The children near the flame press closer. Goosebumps rise where the humid air meets bare skin, and fear feels sweet and ancient, just as it once did for many of us in the U.S., telling urban legends or sharing tales on camping trips, each person daring to go just a little further into the darkness for the thrill of it. What story gave you chills as a kid? Was it about a haunted house, a lost road, or maybe a stranger lurking just out of sight? In these samurai homes, rain brings out the stories of old spirits, floating, long-haired figures who haunt rivers, mountaintops, temples, or even family shrines, seeking resolution or simply to remind the living to honor their promises. The candle's light quivers, and every puff of wind makes a shadow leap suddenly on the wall, as if the spirits themselves have come to listen. Outside, a branch scrapes the roof. Inside, breaths are held just a bit tighter. The tale might center on the Onryo, the angry dead, spirits wronged in life, returning to right ancient injustices. Onryo are like the vengeful ghosts in American movies, but with layers of sorrow, love, and memory weighing down every haunting. Yet, amid the shivers, there is wonder, a sense that even the scariest world is woven with the wishes and heartbreaks of people long gone, just like our own stories still echo in the rooms we leave behind. As the stories wind on, a grandmother adds a blessing, or a parent quietly tucks salt at the corners of the room. Rituals for protection, small as a whispered prayer, or the way some listeners might keep a lucky charm by their bed. Do you have any rituals for warding off fear? A soft light left on in the hall, a favorite book by your pillow, or a special saying that helps you sleep? If it feels right to you, only if you'd like, share below. What's a ghost story or legend that gave you goosebumps as a kid? Or maybe just a curious tradition or a ritual you use to keep shadows at bay. Your memory or tale could be the gentle, thrilling pause that helps another listener snuggle deeper under their blanket tonight. As the candle's final wax runs low and the room exhales, notice the way hearts slow, comforted not just by the old tales, but by the shared space, family laughter, the promise of warmth, the soft steadiness of rain continuing beyond thin walls. The flame flickers out, and stories fade, but their magic lingers, inviting us gently onward into dreams and the next adventure, where travel and vigilance shape the world beyond the safety of home. Close your eyes and listen for a moment. Imagine a stretch of road, shrouded with thick fog before dawn, brush swaying on either side, the dampness of cold dew seeping underfoot with every step. Nearby, a horse lets out a low, rumbling snort as it shifts, breath visible in the chilly air. Under it all, there is a slow, steady drumming, maybe armor echoing in rhythm, or the pulse of boots pressing on wet earth. Can you recall a time before a big moment, an early morning before a long drive, or a hard day, when nerves kept you a little extra awake and the car felt quiet, each heartbeat a secret between you and the glow of the dashboard lights? The long march to battle was more than a test of muscle or weaponry. For the samurai, it was an immersion in the kind of stillness that makes every sound, scent, and sensation feel new. They marched for miles under an ashen sky, breath pluming out in silver, dew settling cool on exposed skin. Each inhalation carried the tang of wet earth and churned grass, and if you paused to notice, there was the faint sweetness of distant wildflowers trampled underfoot, an unexpected kindness amid anxiety. Silence, in moments like this, wrapped itself thick around the group. Words were few, murmured only when strictly needed, just as people today may save conversation during tense car rides for the lightest, most grounding topics. Isn't it strange that comfort can come from just being together, sharing a moment without the need for words? Sometimes, a friend's quiet presence next to you in the car, or a steady hand on your shoulder, is all you need to know you're not alone with your nerves. The sounds around you become anchors. The deep exhale of a warhorse, the squelch of boots in soggy earth. Sometimes, the hush of a distant drum carried down the line, binding everyone to a single, steady pace. In dense fog, each face blurs, friends and strangers alike melting into one determined force. Muscles ache, backs burn, yet camaraderie floats up around the sore legs. a whispered joke, a past canteen, or a memory quietly shared of last year's victory under another sky? Do you remember the silly stories or hopeful predictions traded on long trips, or how a shared snack could bridge even the toughest hour? All the while, the world seems to shrink. The horizon disappears behind mist. Thoughts dig in deeper. Every so often, the wind brings a sharp new coldness, reminding the samurai, like any traveler, that uncertainty sits just ahead. The taste of fear is metallic on the tongue, but so is purpose. For many, this march is less about the looming clash and more about the rhythm, a ritual of trust and endurance that prepares hearts for whatever comes. Even hunger, that persistent ache, becomes something to share. Rations passed hand to hand, sticky rice balls, dried fish, a sip of cool well water, taste both meager and magical, simply because they're offered in the half-light of exhaustion and hope. There's a peculiar flavor to small meals on a journey, isn't there? The way a cold sandwich on a family road trip, or a coffee at a roadside diner, warms you from the inside out, all because of who you're with and where you're going. As the march thickens and time stretches, those at the back hum old melodies, trying to fight off fatigue and worry. Even a small bit of song rising above the trudging feet. It's both a comfort and a tether, proof the group moves together, not just as soldiers, but as people longing for home, for safety, for the relief of reaching the next destination. And so, through dew and fog, through weariness and small miracles, the samurai press forward, one step at a time, always paired by breath and heartbeat, always aware of the hope and heaviness each mile can bring. Have you ever finished a hard journey, stepped out of the car or off the bus, and felt gratitude for both your own effort and the presence of those beside you, no matter what came next? The morning will break eventually, dew drying in sunlight, muscles warming, and the taste of breakfast on the tongue. But for now, travel on, held by the music of hooves and drum, the sting of cold on your cheeks, and the company of countless lives stitched together by the road. From the edge of this journey, you'll slip soon into the gentle, warming stillness of purification, where water, breath, and ritual will wash away the last clinging threads of anxiety, readying you for both action and inner peace. Imagine a soft, silver stream weaving through a quiet forest, its water pure and cool beneath the moon's gentle gaze. As you stand here, the delicate sound of trickling water soothes your senses, inviting you to breathe deeply and let the day's weight wash away. The air holds a fresh, invigorating scent, perhaps the subtle touch of mint leaves crushed underfoot, mingling with the earthy aroma of damp stone and moss. Have you ever felt the calming touch of water, like a gentle shower refreshing both body and mind before a new beginning? In the world of the samurai, this moment of purification was more than ritual. It was a sacred practice called misogi, a spiritual and physical cleansing before facing the uncertainty of battle. With deliberate care, warriors stepped into flowing water or stood beneath a cool waterfall, allowing the current to wash away not just grime, but doubt, fear, and distraction. Imagine the way steam rises softly from freshly warmed skin meeting nighttime air, a subtle warmth contrasting with the coolness of the stream. Just as many of us today seek a moment of calm, a peaceful shower, or a quiet breath before a challenging day, the samurai embraced purification as a vital act of readiness. It was a pause, a surrender to nature's cleansing power, restoring clarity and strength. Can you recall a time when a simple act of washing away felt like shedding more than just dirt, perhaps resetting your spirit or finding calm within chaos? The ritual could be carried out alone by a moonlit stream or led by a priest with chants and prayers calling upon deities for protection and courage. Water was considered a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds, flowing endlessly to renew and purify. The air might carry the refreshing scent of crushed mint or cedarwood incense, mingling with the crisp night breeze. Visualize the samurai lowering their hands into the stream, feeling the water slip through fingers, cold and alive. Each drop seems to carry away the tension held within muscles and mind. The rhythmic flow mirrors steady, mindful breathing, grounding the warrior before stepping into the uncertain moments ahead. This cleansing was also a preparation of heart and mind, a moment to let go of distractions and focus on the path forward. As droplets of water trickled down skin or fell from sleeves, the samurai centered themselves in silent meditation, drawing strength from renewal and nature's embrace. In many ways, this ritual was like the small moments of calm we might cherish today. A cup of tea, savored before a busy morning, a deep breath taken after a stressful meeting, or a quiet moment of mindfulness that steadies our spirits. If it feels right to you, take a moment now to imagine your own place of renewal. Picture the flow of water, the fresh scent of herbs or rain, and the peace that comes from cleansing not just the body, but the mind as well. Only if you'd like, share any calming rituals you find helpful before facing your day or night. Your words might offer a gentle touch of comfort to someone listening. As the cleansing water continues its gentle song, the samurai rises renewed, ready not only for action, but for patience and peace. The ritual folds quietly into the night, and our story moves forward, flowing smoothly toward the worlds of dreams and shadows that await beneath the still stars. There is a hush in the hours after midnight, a softness beneath the covers, a cooling quiet that settles on your cheek and wrists like the lightest touch. The whisper of bed sheets is the only sound, delicate and private. Have you ever noticed how the gentlest movement beneath your blanket, just the brush of fabric, can become a safe space for wandering thoughts? In these moments, when the world is mostly still, we step into the unwritten realm of dreams. For the samurai, as for all of us, night was a landscape shaped by longing and memory, by the pulse of a heart that wouldn't quiet down. Eyes flutter closed, but inside, the mind spins, sometimes soothing, sometimes startling, always vivid. Dreams drift in on that lingering coolness, a relief after the steam of a river bath or the fire of battle gone cold. Some nights, you can almost taste the clear sharpness of air as you slip asleep, like the flavor of rain caught on your tongue after a summer storm. It's here that the samurai finds himself, no longer armored, no longer watched. The pulse of his heart thrums like a distant drum. Nightmares sometimes flicker at the edges. Flashes of sword and shout, a friend's cry as they vanish into a morning mist, or the feeling of running but never arriving. Do you ever chase something in your dreams? An answer, a place, a person you just can't reach? Those restless nights can cling to us, carrying their strange bright colors even after we wake. But the night isn't all anxiety. Some dreams bloom gentle and soft. Memories of childhood, a parent's laughter, the sun-warmed roof of a family home long gone. There are dreams that circle back again and again, a garden heavy with jasmine, the cool rush of river water, a meal shared with comrades by an open fire. Isn't there a special comfort in those dreams that return, that become like stories we tell ourselves with every turn of the pillow? For samurai, these recurring dreams became a secret refuge, a place where hope and fear balanced side by side. Sometimes a single wish will haunt the night, to see a loved one again, to earn forgiveness for a loss, to find gentleness after years of tension. Just as today, many of us might dream with open eyes, the hope that tomorrow will be easier, or that something good might come from sorrow. So too did the warriors hold on to their tender visions while awake. You might recognize the feeling. Just as many people today lie awake, reliving a stressful conversation, or replaying a comforting childhood place, the samurai's mind wandered both forward and back. The rhythm of slow, even breaths, the gentle rise and fall of chest against fresh linen, helps thoughts untangle. The scent of the pillow, faint with green tea from hair or sweet soap, is its own calming signal. Here, you are safe enough to let go for a while. Nightmares, of course, sometimes break through. The cold sweat, the sudden start awake, the confusion between was and is. Even samurai, whose lives were spent learning to master fear, could be unguarded in darkness. Can you remember a dream that left your heart racing long after you opened your eyes? The relief after such restless nights is a gift, a reminder. Morning always comes. If it feels right to you, only if you'd like, I invite you to share below. Do you ever have a dream, happy or anxious, that returns again and again? Maybe it's a place you miss, or a feeling you chase, or a story that only belongs to you in sleep. Sharing these small mysteries might help someone else feel less alone in their own wandering dreams tonight. In these quiet hours, dreams that won't let go connect us across cultures, centuries, and silent rooms. They are proof that all minds search for meaning, healing, and sometimes just the promise of a kinder day to come. Let the hush of sleep cradle you now, and as the next chapter gently unfolds, drift with the samurai through moonlit gardens and waking dawn, in a world where wonder and memory intertwine just beyond the reach of reason. Imagine a garden tucked behind old wooden gates, where the ground is soft and lush with moss. You walk slowly, your bare feet sinking gently, the texture plush and cool, a soothing reminder with each step. Above, maple and pine lean together, their branches shifting shadows over sun-warmed stones. Have you ever found yourself in a peaceful garden or park, the kind that encourages silence and a wandering mind, letting every step reshape your thoughts? A samurai slips between carefully placed rocks, tracing the shapes of raked gravel and sunlight. Not far away, water glimmers in a shallow pond. Koi dart beneath the surface, scales catching afternoon light, gold, white, and vermilion as fleeting as thoughts. Now and then, a splash breaks the hush, droplets sparkling in the air before fading softly into ripples. You notice a tiny plate set near the edge, holding a bright red pickled plum. Its tangy scent lingers in the air, sharp and clean, a mouth-watering contrast to all this natural calm. Pickled plums, or umeboshi, are a salty, sour Japanese treat, cherished for their zing and their place in lunchboxes and picnics. For both samurai and today's wanderers, such gardens are made for slowing down. Each path meanders, curving past small stone lanterns and underarching gates. The breeze teases your hair and clothes, carrying the earthy aroma of moss and the occasional whiff of pond water. You pause to notice small miracles, a fallen flower on a boulder, a frog crouched just out of sight, the hush of bamboo stalks rubbing together. There's no rush here. Does this remind you of your own city parks or botanical gardens? The joy of drifting without aim, letting the world soften and worries ease. It's a familiar comfort. Just as many people today still find a bench or a patch of grass to sit and daydream, listening to the shouts of distant children or the creak of nearby swings, samurai would spend quiet hours in gardens like these, untangling tangled questions or simply breathing. Thoughts drift between memory and hope, tomorrow's duties, yesterday's kindnesses, the longing for home or for a stray moment of laughter. Have you ever noticed how your mind becomes clearer and lighter while you wander, even when you're not seeking answers? Every now and then, the samurai reaches for the pickled plum on the stone, savoring its tartness against the backdrop of gentle green. That sharp, electric taste brings him back, a moment of presence in a landscape that invites drifting. Maybe you, too, have used small treats or rituals, chewing on gum, sipping iced tea, or biting into a crisp apple, while lost in your own reveries in the open air. The garden's quiet beauty is as much about what you feel as what you see. A brush of moss underfoot, a drop of water on your palm, the way light finds new shapes in every corner. The hush holds and heals, smoothing out anxiety and inviting a deep breath. The samurai, like you, might pause to close his eyes, feeling the cool edge of shadow and sunlight mingling on his skin. If it feels right, reflect for a moment on your own wandering places, the paths where your thoughts run safe and free, the colors and scents you cherish there. Maybe share, only if you'd like, what kind of gardens or green spaces help you rest and reset. Someone listening might discover a new place, even just in imagination, that brings them a gentle ease tonight. As you step onward, the moss gives way to gravel. The koi settle and the garden quiets, holding your meandering thoughts with care. Soon, the story will drift back inside, into spaces where perfection is pursued and gentle flaws are hidden, not unlike the way carefully tended gardens hold a secret wildness just beneath the surface. Allow your attention to settle inward and notice the way your muscles feel. Maybe there's a lingering tightness in your shoulders or neck. That sensation of holding yourself together, sometimes barely, is so familiar. In the quiet homes of feudal Japan, samurai children learned to notice that tension early. Each morning, they would dust themselves with a silken cloud of powdered talc, the scent soft, the grains fine, meant to keep the skin cool and composed beneath layers of thick, formal clothing. And always, before stepping out, the sash, known as an obi, was pulled snug across the waist, a ritual as much about appearance as about belonging. Do you ever notice how the way you stand, the way you get dressed, even the way you tie your shoes or adjust your shirt before a meeting can shape your mood and sense of self? In these households, the pursuit of perfection was not a fleeting task. It was a lifelong burden. The samurai's every action, word, even their smallest gestures at the family table were measured against the invisible expectation of never shaming those who came before. Silence replaced laughter if a bow was too shallow. A single frayed sleeve or scuffed sandal would draw sharp correction. Have you felt that too? You might ask yourself. The small ways you're taught to hide mistakes? Maybe cleaning up your words online or retaking a dozen selfies just to look just right? Today, so much of this ancient anxiety feels echoed in our world of curated photos and filtered timelines. The drive to present an Instagram perfect life, clean, radiant, perfectly arranged, is not so far from the endless rehearsal samurai children did before a family portrait, standing still for so long that muscles began to ache. The outward calm, every fold pressed and every posture precise, hides the tight coil of effort and the fear of failing even for a moment. Perfection was seen not just as a personal goal, but a family legacy, a promise that pain and effort now would translate to pride and security for generations to come. The shame of falling short wasn't just an internal struggle. It could mean exclusion, gossip, or even the erasure from family records. Do you ever worry who's watching, or who might judge you for slipping, even if just once? It's a quiet pressure, but a familiar one, sewn into both traditional kimonos and modern social lives. But this quest for flawlessness is lonely too. In every culture, outward appearances are maintained with 1,000 small rituals. Applying makeup, smoothing the edges of a messy bed, cropping photos until there's nothing left but the smile. Underneath, how many hearts ache for permission to be imperfect, seen, and held regardless of a crease or crack? Have you ever felt relief at peeling off your best clothes at day's end, letting the tension ebb as you slip into something softer? Sometimes the best peace comes in those first moments of letting go. Yet, perfection provided comfort too. A sense that if you just followed the rules, you might be safe from shame. Samurai practiced tightening their sashes without looking, dusting away every wrinkle. Some found pride in the smallest details, in a flawless T-whisked or a crease ironed without fault. But over time, the pressure mounted, building walls of anxiety between even the closest family members. Tenderness was safest when hidden, not for lack of love, but for fear of showing too much. If it feels right, take a slow, full breath and notice what you're holding tight tonight. What are the sashes you pull a little too snug? The invisible powders you use to hide your flaws? No pressure to answer, just a gentle invitation to be human for a moment, among so many who know this yearning for acceptance. As you relax your muscles just a bit, sense the old expectations loosening, making space for a quieter, more honest peace. The samurai, despite all their precision, ended days with the same hope we all carry now, that in the company of those who matter, a soft embrace or a genuine smile is worth more than any perfect appearance. Let's carry this softness forward as our story slips gently from the rigid pursuit of flawlessness into the moonlit world, where hidden sorrows and the rare courage to reveal them shape the samurai's secret nights. Picture the night heavy and endless, sky scattered with diamonds, and the air still but charged. In a hidden courtyard behind thick castle walls, two samurai stand facing each other, the gravel cool and uneven underfoot. The only sound is the quiet hiss as their swords, razor-sharp katanas, draw from their scabbards, cutting through the silence. One breath, held. Another, let out slow. Each exhale shimmering in the lantern glow. Have you ever noticed your own breath growing slow and careful when you're alone, waiting for something important to begin? At this hour, every sound is magnified. The hush between steps, the faint rustle of a sleeve, the soft perspiration cooling on your brow as adrenaline fades into focus. The duel is not always about anger or hatred. Sometimes it springs from duty, a question of honor or apology that cannot be voiced by words. The sword becomes a whisper and answer, a proof of courage in the one moment when everything depends on presence. Light slips across sweat-damp skin, cool beads trailing down the cheek, leaving a chill in the quiet air. Just as many people today might feel that shivery cold facing a life-changing decision alone in the late hours. An exam the next day, a tough phone call, a sleepless walk through an empty house, so too do the samurai hold themselves steady for the trial. There is a kind of music in these moments, feet gliding on packed dirt, the quiet rhythm of heartbeats, the subtle give as wrists flex. The surrounding world contracts to just this circle of intention, confidence, and humility. Have you ever faced something that felt too heavy to carry in the daylight? So you waited for the hush of night, letting darkness wrap quietly around your nerves. Even now, listeners may recall late-night worries faced alone, where every sense grows sharper and victory is measured not only by outcome, but by dignity kept. As the blade strikes and parries, there is a dance, fear and dignity pressing close, neither yielding, neither truly wishing harm. The duel is brief, lived more in the rush of hesitation and the heat of resolve than in clash and wound. And then, as quickly as it began, it finishes. Swords lower, breath slows, and moonlight slicks every surface with a cool, forgiving sheen. The chill of sweat on the skin becomes a gentle anchor, a reminder that each challenger walks away changed, shaped by courage and the deep relief that comes with surviving trial by night. Sometimes, the victor bows respectfully. The defeated offered a moment to recover pride. Among samurai, respect, both given and received, beats beneath every contest, making space for healing and learning in the wake of tense encounters. Is there a challenge in your life that tested you under darkness, alone and uncertain? Only if you feel comfortable, perhaps share below. How did you find your courage when all eyes were gone and the world was still? No pressure. Your story may offer a glimmer of encouragement to another listener facing their own silent duel tonight. The courtyard empties, the stones holding the imprint of careful feet, the sword sliding back with a final soft click. The air is lighter, trouble eased by the test, tension loosened by the assurance that the hardest battles are most often fought within ourselves, unseen by any audience but the moon. Let the memory of moonlit duels remain as the story moves on, easing from challenge into the world of broader duties and the weight of village, lord, and earth. A gentle return to the responsibilities waiting brightly as dawn finds its way over rooftops once more. Imagine the cool morning air inside a grand but simple house, where a sheet of crisp white paper slides across a lacquered desk. The smoothness beneath your fingertips is grounding, each fiber of the paper promising clarity in a world that can so often feel tangled. Just beyond, you hear the slow creak of heavy castle gates swinging open, wood grinding on stone, marking the daily beginning of duty and responsibility. Do you ever wake early, already sensing the weight of your to-do list, the steady pull of work, family needs, and obligations waiting at the edge of a quiet room? In the world of the samurai, these first moments are sacred and burdensome. A steaming cup of green tea sits at the ready, bitter, grassy, deeply earthy on the tongue. The first sip is bold, almost bracing, awakening the senses and giving focus for the hours to come. Green tea, or ocha as it's known in Japan, is a daily ritual. Its astringent taste clears the mind and prepares both body and spirit for challenge. The taste lingers, reminding one that sometimes that which strengthens us isn't always sweet. As a land steward and protector, the samurai's life unfolds in layers, much like many listeners navigating work, home, and personal aspirations in a single day. Every incident, a missing basket of rice, a neighbor's boundary dispute, a seasonal tax due, requires wisdom, patience, and calm. The sliding of paper could mean a request to resolve a quarrel or news of approaching danger. Have you found yourself being the go-between, mediating a disagreement between friends, family, or coworkers, trying to keep peace without losing sight of your own values? Beyond personal honor, the samurai's heavy crown is, at heart, one of service. Each decision radiates out. A kind judgment can ease fears in a distant village. A single moment of anger might spark years of resentment or conflict. The creak of the gate signals not only a literal passage, but the opening of oneself to the needs and hopes of hundreds, sometimes thousands, of others. Do you relate to the idea of carrying invisible weight, balancing your own needs alongside the expectations of a boss, a partner, a child, or even your community? Work-life balance in feudal Japan was less about scheduling breaks and more a lifelong practice of presence, boundaries, and ritual. The samurai might pause for a mindful moment, another sip of tea, a glance out to a blooming tree, a silent prayer beneath the broad eaves, before returning to resolve urgent disputes or celebrate the quiet victories of a well-managed estate. Evenings might bring peace, but often only after another scroll of complaints to answer, more villagers' voices vying to be heard. The burden of leadership, then as now, can grow lonely. Few see the uncertainty behind a composed face, or the moments torn between duty and heart's desire. Isn't it familiar? The wish to do what's right by others, while sometimes wishing for an hour of true rest or a single task for just yourself? Yet with every signed decree, every fair judgment, or careful compromise, the samurai's sense of purpose deepens. The land, after all, is more than property. Its fields, families, traditions, breathtaking mountains, and fleeting blossoms all depend on patient stewardship. As contemporary as this ancient story feels, you might draw comfort from its reassuring parallel. Just as samurai carried the heavy crown of service and balancing acts, so too do so many today. Whether you're guiding a work team, raising a child, looking after a parent, or simply striving to be fair and good with those around you, you're not alone in the struggle. If it feels right, consider this. What do you do to find balance when many needs pull at you at once? Only if you'd like, gently share your thoughts or tips below. Your approach may inspire a fellow listener searching for a lighter heart under their own invisible crown. Soon, the scent of green tea fades. Dusk begins to soften the edges of another full day, and the gates close again, ready to reopen with tomorrow's first light. You, like the samurai, carry your share, and in your steady hands and open heart, a sense of quiet honor settles, tying the land, the people, and your own spirit into something lasting, real, and calm. Let's glide forward together into the coming night, where loss, sorrow, and the rituals of letting go invite their own kind of healing beneath the far-reaching branches of history and hope. The evening has settled thick and gentle, and somewhere in the quiet distance, a single bamboo flute plays, a melody so soft it feels like the night itself is breathing. The music winds through heavy air, meeting the warmth on someone's cheek where a tear has slipped, unnoticed, down to the line of the jaw. Have you, too, ever felt the ache of missing someone so deeply that all words fell away, leaving only a quiet ache in your chest? In the world of the samurai, This kind of sorrow was always present, often hidden beneath the calm discipline of daily life. Within temple courtyards, the ground is cool and rough beneath the fingertips, each memorial stone worn uneven by time and touch. These stones, carved with careful symbols and names, are places of remembrance, reverence, and release. The fingers of those left behind might trace the carved ridges, feeling the chill and rough texture, an anchor to the reality, the permanence of loss. Grief in samurai life was profound but rarely loud. Instead, it filled the air like incense, subtle, persistent, and woven into ritual. When a loved one died, family and friends gathered for subdued ceremonies. Heads bowed, whispers joined together in prayer, and hands pressed together in silent unity. The depth of emotion was often shown not with words, but via actions, the offering of incense, the careful tending of a family shrine, or the nightly lighting of a candle for the one who's gone. Do you recognize this kind of mourning? A sorrow that's less about the sound of crying and more about the heaviness of silent gazes and shared routines? Perhaps most haunting is the story of seppuku, a term that may be unfamiliar to some. In feudal Japan, seppuku was a ritualized suicide, a public but solemn act where a samurai took his own life in a precise ceremonial way. For U.S. listeners, seppuku, sometimes called harakiri, was a means to restore family honor after a shameful event, or as a protest against injustice. While tragic, it was considered an act of courage and dignity, witnessed by family or trusted friends who would ensure the act was swift and honorable. The person performing seppuku would wear white, color of both mourning and purity, kneeling on cloth with a sharp blade, and in front of witnesses he would make the cut, often followed immediately by a second, who would end the suffering with mercy. The pain surrounding such an act wasn't only physical or public, it rippled through families, echoing for years. Just as a memorial stone's surface is rough and cannot be smoothed, the sorrow for a lost father, friend, or spouse lingers in every meal, every morning greeting. But part of samurai mourning was communal too. The family and wider village would gather, sharing the pain to lessen it, weaving together their strength and support in shared rituals. Think of times in your own life when grieving was softened, even a little, by the presence of others, by a friend who simply sat beside you, saying nothing but reminding you that you were not alone. Our world isn't so different. Sometimes the rituals we perform today, lighting a candle for a loved one, wearing black to a funeral, or leaving flowers at a grave, mirror those ancient acts of reverence and release. There's something healing about the feel of stone beneath the hand, or the gentle weight of a tear falling freely at last, just as there's comfort in the small ceremonies we build to hold our hurt. If it feels right, let yourself linger in this gentle company now. Notice the textures and warmth. Rough stones beneath your palm, the soothing stream of quiet flute music, the unmistakable heat on your cheek from grief set free. Try breathing in, letting sorrow mix gently with acceptance, and then exhale slowly into the wider night, trusting that loss, while never easy, is a thread that connects us all across time, culture, and distance. Soon, the flute's melody will fade, and the first stars will appear with promise and gentle patience. Our story will slip gently onward, following the hidden wisdom and silent strength found not just in warriors, but in those who quietly hold a family or a world together in the dark. There's a soft, familiar rhythm in the house tonight, the gentle pull of thread through fabric, each stitch carrying both care and concentration. Picture a woman, perhaps the wife of a samurai, sitting in a quiet corner under the dim glow of a lamp. She works carefully, the scent of cedar rising from a nearby keepsake box. Those polished wooden containers used to store family treasures, kimonos, or cherished letters from faraway husbands. Is there a scent or keepsake in your own home that brings comfort and memories even on the longest nights? All around her, the home settles into its nightly hush, but her vigil continues. Her hands never rush. She patches a sleeve, straightens a collar, and checks that an amulet or lucky coin is still tucked inside a young child's robe. These acts are nearly invisible, every bit as important to her family's peace as the battles fought outside. Have you noticed how the smallest gestures, folding laundry, setting out lunch, lighting a candle, hold families together, even when words are few? This is the strength of samurai women, quiet but enduring. While others ready swords and polish armor, she readies meals, mends emotional cracks, and sings lullabies that drift on night air. Her song, soft, repetitive, and soothing, settles restless minds. It's the hum at the edge of consciousness, a melody you can feel in your bones. Lullabies are called komoryuta in Japan. They're gentle, often touched by sorrow. Their words passed down through generations for calming children and heart alike. Her wisdom shows in hundreds of small decisions. How much rice to spare in a season of worry? What story to tell an anxious child? When to press or when to comfort a husband burdened by unspeakable loss? Tradition rests on her shoulders. Rituals for the new year, for honoring the ancestors, for keeping the fire of home always burning. Just as many people today might know a grandmother's recipes or a mother's quiet strength, the women of samurai families were the true keepers of culture, holding history together strand by strand. Though seldom celebrated in official scrolls or grand tales, their vigilance was essential. When dawn threatened, they waited without complaint for a husband's safe return. When sorrow pressed in, they held households together with soft words and steady hands. Even their moments of fear, when word spread of nearby battles or losses, were quietly transformed into hope, transforming dread into careful planning for whatever might come next. Those cedar boxes, their scent a blend of earth, wood, and time, hold not only heirlooms but memories. A lock of hair, a folded baby kimono, a faded letter wishing for spring's return. As she tucks these treasures back inside, the room fills with a sense of something durable, unbroken. Have you saved something, even a small note or token, simply because its touch brings you closer to someone strong and kind from your own story? If it feels right to you, no pressure at all. Maybe take a quiet moment to think, who is a wise or quietly strong woman in your life? Only if you'd like, honor her in the comments below. Your memory might offer comfort to someone else reflecting on the strong hands and gentle hearts that shaped them too. As the lullaby's hum softens and the cedar aroma settles, the house leans further into rest, the day's worries briefly held at bay. These women, often working without thanks, are the silent foundation of every hope, every joy, and every homecoming. Whenever you notice care in small things, a favorite shirt laundered just so, a meal served in silence, a soft light left on for your return, know that you too walk in the company of quiet guardians. From this gentle hearth, Our story will move softly forward into the world of written words and kept promises, where the power of a letter, penned by candlelight, might bridge silent distances and keep loved ones close through the next long night. In the gentle hush of the samurai evening, picture a small room illuminated by the soft golden glow of an oil lantern. The hush is broken only by the gentle scratch of a brush gliding over washi paper. Thin, strong sheets prized for the way they absorb ink and memory together. Have you ever paused to really notice the feel of ink on paper, or the way a favorite pen seems to capture your deepest thoughts better than a keyboard ever could? Here, every letter is a kind of touch, a bridge between someone's heart and those far away. On a small tray near the writing desk rests a salted plum. The taste is sharp, briny, and sour, waking up the senses, grounding you gently in the moment. Salted plum, or umeboshi, is a traditional Japanese treat, beloved for its tang and for bringing a burst of flavor to even the simplest meal. For many, its strong taste calls to mind childhood lunches and the care tucked into a family's smallest gifts. The samurai takes a bite, letting the tartness linger before lowering the brush again, ready to call the next line into being. The house is still. Muffled footsteps echo softly in a corridor outside, a reminder of others moving quietly nearby, carrying their own hopes and worries, their own silent stories. Writing a letter here is an act of courage, a way of giving voice to emotion and thought that may never be spoken. Have you ever found yourself saying what most needs to be said only in a letter, trusting paper and ink to carry your feelings further than your voice could go? Some letters are for friends too distant to visit, a tale from home, a shared memory, a gentle joke meant to close the gap of miles and years. Other messages carry apologies, words shaped by regret or tenderness, crafted under the lantern's forgiving glow. There are confessions too, secret dreams for a gentler life, prayers for loved ones' protection, or the simple yearning for a day when all will be safe and together again. Isn't it true, even now, that sometimes the notes we tuck into books, the emails never sent, the lists of wishes left tucked in a drawer, are where we keep our truest selves? As the brush dips in the inkstone, the air around is tinged with the faint mineral scent of iron and smoke. Each character is written slowly, carefully, with hope that the reader's hands will one day hold these words. Feeling the textured fibers and knowing somewhere across the world they were never forgotten. Sometimes the letter will be folded and secured with a small tie, then pressed to the sender's forehead for a moment, a silent wish carried on breath and spirit alike. Other times, the message may never be delivered, tucked into the cedar box on a high shelf, a promise to oneself as much as a connection to another. Just as many listeners today might save old postcards, texts, or voice memos, the samurai cherished these written remnants, proof that even when separated by circumstance or duty, their stories and emotions could travel farther than any step or sword. Do you keep your own little archive? Letters sent and kept? Emails revisited just to feel close again to someone cherished? If it feels right to you, only if you'd like, you're welcome to reflect. Is there a message, a note, or a memory of connection that brings warmth to your heart on lonely nights? Sometimes, sharing these small treasures, whether as a memory or as a new message, can offer gentle comfort to someone listening tonight. As the ink dries, the lantern's glow flickers over the folded paper, casting hopeful shadows. Outside, The corridor quiets, and the taste of salted plum lingers, a vivid reminder that even across distance and silence, words can bridge the widest gaps. With the last word placed, the samurai sits back, closing eyes in grateful peace. Soon, the evening will draw them into ritual and gathering once more, into the quiet beauty and hidden tension of the tea ceremony, where every movement is both message and meditation, a conversation carried not by wind, but by the shared grace of a mindful pause. Imagine stepping into a softly lit room, where the air itself feels a little heavier, almost sacred, with the deep smell of roasted tea leaves and the faintest trace of incense. At the center of the room sits a well-worn bowl and a wooden scoop, its curves smooth from years of careful hands. As the host prepares the tea, you notice the delicate sound. The scoop clicks gently against the side of the bowl, then stirs fine green powder with practiced rhythmic grace. Have you ever found calm in an unexpected sound? Maybe the clink of a spoon against a favorite mug, or the tap of rain on your window as you wait in line at your usual coffee shop. This is the world of chanoyu, the Japanese tea ceremony. Chanoyu means hot water for tea, but it's far more than making a drink. It's a ritual for showing care, practicing mindfulness, and honoring every guest. Every movement is designed for beauty and purpose. The folding of a cloth with crisp edges, the whisking of bright matcha, the slow pour of steaming water. The steam rises, soft and warm, flushing your cheeks with heat and sending a grassy umami fragrance up as the aroma blooms in the quiet space. Yet, under this calm is a secret tension. The Haman of the host's mind, the wave of intuition and memory, runs beneath the surface. Each gesture is performed not only for tranquility, but for silent competition. Did the bow go deep enough? Did the tea froth just so? Did the guest, in turn, return the right nod, the right thank you, the right quiet? Isn't it much like the gentle dance of ordering or sharing coffee in the US, where friendly conversation mingles with unwritten rules, and a single smile or polite gesture can set the mood for the whole day? The ritual moves onward. The host wipes the thin porcelain bowl, offering it with careful hands. You cradle it, noticing the soft warmth against your palms. The taste is bold, earthy, bittersweet, somehow alive and grounding. The bowl's rim is just the right thickness, and you turn it thoughtfully, as tradition dictates, to admire the glaze before sipping. The faint snap of a bamboo scroll somewhere in the corner signals a fresh pot is ready, and you see a subtle ripple of anticipation cross the room. The ceremony is a study in opposites: hospitality and hierarchy, serenity and strain. Everyone performs their role as if on a silent stage. Even in the hush, bonds form, eyes meet, minds wander in shared silence, and worries pause at the edge of the tatami mat. Have you noticed, maybe during a favorite gathering, how communal rituals bring both peace and the pressure to be perfect? Just as many Americans seek comfort in familiar coffee rituals, here every detail, down to the brushstroke of a bowl or the lightness of steam, offers a chance for connection and a quiet test of grace. The scent of tea lingers on your hands, a reminder that real calm is built from hundreds of learned details. The host smiles, just barely, as their motions slow. You realize, for a moment, the world outside has faded. The rush of the castle, the weight of old obligations, the worries that tie knots in the chest, all held at bay by this small, vivid ritual. If it feels right, pause here. take a deep breath. Feel warmth on your cheeks, the taste of whatever flavor you love best, the memory of safe, communal places where even brief moments can reset your heart. Only if you'd like, share below. What everyday rituals at a cafe, at your kitchen table, or in an old cherished shop anchor you to peace? As the tea cools and the scroll is rolled with a patient hand, the mood gently shifts. Guests murmur quiet appreciation. The host bows, inviting the room to drift softly back into the ordinary world. The serenity and strain of this perfect ceremony linger as the story floats onward. Soon, we'll explore the masks worn outside, the careful performance of public strength and private care, and the rituals, new and old, that help every traveler keep moving toward calm. A waft of subtle perfume hangs in the air, something clean, almost floral, but shy, fading as quickly as it arrives. The faintest rustle follows, silk sliding gently across skin as a samurai ties a mask over his features. For a moment, he looks into the quiet room, back straight, mouth composed, eyes steady. Have you ever rehearsed your smile before a difficult day, making sure it looks just right in the mirror? In feudal Japan, much like now, the act of facing the world was an art of invisible effort. Masks, sometimes literal, often figurative, were a daily necessity. In public, the samurai's posture was immaculate, every gesture mapped by custom and expectation. The mask was not deception, but protection, a soft shield against the risk of showing too much. Every bow, quiet greeting, and polite nod became part of this performance, a practiced echo of the code that held families and reputations together. Even the scent he chose spoke subtly for him, whispering of order and self-possession to those who passed by. But behind the careful poise, emotion gathered in secret places, the echo of an internal sigh, the weary hope that no one would glimpse the real heart beneath the silk and steel. Do you ever tuck away your own fears, folding them into layers beneath your clothes in the morning? Just as people today might keep up appearances on social media, hiding sleepless nights or tangled feelings behind friendly posts or confident photos, the pressure to appear strong could push real feeling deeper inside. At the end of long ceremonies or challenging meetings, the samurai's hands might linger on the edges of his mask, feeling the difference between the silk's cool smoothness and the warm, unguarded skin beneath. In the privacy of empty corridors, he'd release a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. The air behind the mask, scented faintly with his chosen perfume, seemed softer, safer. Each inhale a small return to self. To cope, these warriors and their households develop private rituals. Some rinse their faces in cool water, letting the sensation break the tension and bring them back to their bodies. Others whispered a mantra, lit a stick of incense that glowed gently as dusk fell, or wrote careful lines of poetry. Personal admissions never shown, but always true. What small acts bring you comfort when the world feels heavy or performance wears you down? Maybe it's the ritual of changing into soft clothes at home, a favorite song humming quietly, or just the feeling of lying back in bed after a day of holding it together. Sometimes they gathered close to trusted friends or family, enjoying moments of true presence, laughter not rehearsed, words spoken low and honest. These rare scenes, behind doors and away from watching eyes, allowed recovery. Soft conversation, the warmth of a hand on a shoulder, or simply a knowing look. These built a bridge, reminding each person that their worth was not just in their public role, but in their capacity to care and be cared for. Just as many listeners today might shed shoes, suit jackets, or even their work voice the moment they come home. Samurai, too, let down their guard when the day's duties were done, or tried to. For many, the real challenge was greeting themselves with kindness, with a gentle acceptance that being human means sometimes being unsure, tired, or even sad, no matter how beautiful the mask. If it feels right to you, no pressure. Take a quiet moment after this story to thank yourself for the effort it takes to face the world every day, mask or not. If you'd like, maybe share below. What are your own soothing rituals? Or how do you find relief from performance? Your insights could help others feel a little less alone behind their own practiced smiles. Outside, the world presses in. Duties await. Old rituals call. But here, behind the smile and silk, just for a breath, vulnerability is allowed to bloom. And as dawn waits just beyond the horizon, the gentle tending to these private selves will carry the strength, flexibility, and genuine peace that every soul deserves into the light of a new day. Now, the story glides gently forward to evenings lit by laughter, shared lanterns, and rare fleeting joys. A reminder that no mask is worn forever, and moments of connection are always waiting, just beyond the edge of the performance. Let's step outside beneath a velvet night sky, where the air is bright with anticipation. You might hear it first, the layered swell of laughter rising from the heart of the village, a joyful sound so infectious it feels as if even the stones and old rooftops are smiling. Warmth radiates from the crowd, lantern light bouncing from faces and sleeves as families drift together, drawn toward the sparkle of festival time. Have you ever wandered toward glowing lights and happy voices, somewhere in your own town, feeling swept along by excitement you didn't even realize you missed? Burning torches line narrow streets, each lantern painted with red, gold, or glimmering blue, their light soft and honeyed against the cool air. The scent here is as vivid as the glow, a dizzying blend of sticky sweet syrup from festival treats, warm rice cakes toasting on an open flame, and a hint of smoke from fireworks waiting to burst above. Tiny hands clutch long spiral candies. A friend passes you a skewer of grilled fish glazed in soy, the first bite melting salty and sweet on your tongue. Isn't there something magical about street food, or a special snack you only find at a fair or county festival? For many, those flavors unlock childhood, curiosity, and a rare freedom from ordinary days. Waves of laughter, real and whole-bodied, ripple through the square. Dancers move in a circle around the main bonfire, feet shuffling in rhythm to old songs played on drums and flutes. Children run, faces painted, darting between legs, holding miniature lanterns or batting at paper streamers. Everywhere, music shimmers, a mix of festival ting-ting, quick drum beats, and the high-piped notes of festival flutes that spiral above the chatter. In Japan, these lively gatherings are often obon, or Tanabata festivals, nights when the community honors ancestors with light, dance, and dreams for the future. For U.S. friends, picture a cross between a local 4th of July celebration, a summer carnival, and a street parade, all aglow with tradition. The air is soft and velvety, the night neither hot nor cold, but touched by the happy heat of bodies moving together. Sweat prickles on your skin gently, cooled by an evening breeze heavy with the fragrance of sweet fried batter. In this scene, the usual lines between neighbor and stranger blur. No one asks what you do or where you're from. Old friends wave. and new friends greet you with an easy bow, the kind that speaks of shared experience, here and now. Laughter and light dance on every surface. As a chorus of small voices gasps, fireworks burst overhead. The first pop, then a golden rain that coaxes ooze through the streets, followed by pink and green sparks that shower softly onto upturned faces. You might notice a moment of hush as the next round waits. Then, just as quickly, the music returns, feet stamp, and someone spins you in a spontaneous, twinkling dance. Is there a memory like this in your life? A harvest festival, a snowy parade, a backyard party at dusk where it seemed anything could happen, and happiness hummed through everyone you touched? For the samurai, so often bound by restraint and duty, these nights were rare gifts. The mask slipped away for an evening. Laughter and music became armor instead. The old anxieties, the pressures of perfection, melted like sugar on the tongue, replaced by warmth, rhythms, and the glow of unity, however fleeting. If it feels right to you, only if you'd like, describe a festival, local event, or joyful scene that brings you the most peace or happiness. Did you find bliss at a lantern-lit garden party, a potluck in the park, or a main street strung with holiday lights? Share it for anyone listening here. Your memory could help someone savor soft warmth tonight. As the last firework sputters and the laughter fades, villagers begin to drift home, lanterns still swaying gently in hand. Sticky fingers are licked clean, and faces are wiped on sleeves, full of powder and sparkle. The music echoes in memory, even as the square returns to quiet. In the wake of fleeting bliss, a pleasant fatigue settles in, a sense that, for at least a little while, joy was simple, true, and shared by every heart that braved the night. Let this gentle happiness trace the outline of your next dreams, lighting the way forward as the story slips into more intimate evenings, into the art and music of slow reflection, the gentle acts that soothe the soul and keep the sleepiest joys burning long after the lanterns are packed away. A hush descends as daylight fades beyond the shoji screens. In the main room, a fresh sheet of rice paper stretches out on the calligrapher's desk. The first sound is unmistakable, the gentle stroke of a brush dipping in black ink, then skimming across the page, each movement fluid, deliberate, and impossibly calming. Have you ever watched ink bloom on paper, the line forming under your hand, with nothing in the world to hurry you? Here, every character carries both memory and hope, a grounding act for mind and body alike. Across from the desk, a bamboo flute waits patiently in its cloth wrap. When played, it sends low, breathy notes drifting along the corridor, music that feels both ancient and intimate, rising and falling like the tide. The melody is mellow, its vibration softly settling into wooden beams and woven straw mats. The music doesn't need words. It becomes the air you breathe and brings a gentle hush, an invitation for reflection that listeners today might feel in the hush that falls in a favorite late-night playlist, the peace between notes that lets a heart reset. Outside, a small koi pond ripples gently. Every now and then, a cool splash echoes as a gold and ivory fish surfaces, scattering tiny droplets across the water's face. That splash is more than a sound. It's the world's soft reminder to stay present. The same way cool water under your fingers can soothe tired nerves after a long day. Have you ever sat by a fountain or pond, your hand in the water, letting everything else slip from your mind, even for a moment? These arts, calligraphy, music, poetry, are how the samurai find resilience and a path to healing. Each brushstroke is a meditation, drawing attention to the beauty in imperfection and the wholeness within small acts. In writing, the world narrows to the feeling of bristles against rough paper and the shape of each letter, a reminder that even controlled lines carry the energy of the heart. Calligraphy in Japan, or shodo, literally means the way of writing, valued not for perfection, but for the presence and spirit shown in the artist's line. When the last characters dry, the samurai sets aside the brush and takes up the flute, playing the kind of simple melody that could linger in the mind for days. These soft, unhurried rituals are quietly radical. In times of stress and heartache, creativity soothes and restores, just as many people today might paint, journal, or play music far past midnight, trusting such arts to ease their worries and reconnect them to themselves. Poetry, too, is woven through these evenings. Anyone in the household, child, mother, warrior, might offer a spare haiku or tanka aloud, watching the words land gently as feathers. Their lines note the way the moon bends over the roof, how a single autumn leaf turns in the breeze, or the ache of a conversation left unfinished. Do you ever find yourself jotting down a thought or line at bedtime? Even if it's just a grocery list or a single feeling, sometimes writing is a way of holding and transforming what the heart cannot yet release. You can almost taste the peace that rises in this room, like the coolness offered by a splash from the koi pond, the mellow residue of tea on your tongue, or the clean fragrance of new ink mingling with night air. If it feels right, and only if you'd like, consider, are there creative rituals, music, drawing, letter writing, even small doodles, that help you find balance or wholeness in stressful times? Perhaps sharing below could inspire someone listening to find comfort in their own quiet art. As the story lingers here, steeped in soft sounds and gentle gestures, imagine the calm that follows, a room filled with the echo of music, the beauty of imperfect ink, and the promise that healing is woven not just in grand gestures, but in everyday acts of making, noticing, and sharing. The night will carry us gently on, always ready for new beginnings, grounded in these arts of resilience and quiet joy. A quiet stillness settles over the ancient castle as night deepens, draping the high stone walls in velvety darkness. The heavy wooden beams creak softly under the weight of years, the sound a subtle reminder of the countless footsteps that have paced these halls before. Imagine the chill of a stone floor beneath your bare feet, cool and uneven, grounding you in this vast space that feels both sheltering and isolating. Outside, the crackle of a lone campfire flickers against the black silhouette of pitched tents, smoke curling toward a sky heavy with stars. Do you know the feeling of lying awake long past the moment sleep should come, surrounded by silence yet burdened by restless thoughts? In the castle's quiet chambers and the border camp's shadows, such nights are the canvas for reflection, memory, and longing. Inside the castle's hush, the flicker of a single candle casts long dancing shadows. The scent of aged timber and faint incense mingles with the cool night air slipping through paper windows, wrapping around you like a fragile shawl. The coolness of a heavy wool blanket rests on your shoulders, offering comfort amid solitude. You might notice the rough texture of the stone wall nearby, its weight a mute witness to countless stories of loss, duty, and endurance. The distant call of a night bird echoes softly, a solitary song in the vastness of night, much like the hush that fills an empty house in the late hours, a reminder that even in solitude, sound and life persist. In these spaces, memories drift close like old companions. The sharp scent of freshly carved wood mingles with the earthiness of moss grown in castle courtyards. Perhaps you recall the faces of absent friends or the places you long for, each a delicate thread weaving through your thoughts. The quiet is punctuated only by occasional footsteps, soft, measured, and deliberate. Each footfall carries purpose and history, the cadence that matches the steady beating of an anxious heart. In border camps, the rustle of canvas and the low murmur of sentries add texture to the night, blending with the aroma of damp earth and simmering stew. Here, under a stitched sky, soldiers huddle close to shared fires, the warmth a brief reprieve against the chill that settles deep into bones. Loneliness flows like shadow between tents and towers, yet within it blooms a fragile strength, born of shared hardship and silent understanding. Just as many might feel the stillness of their own homes when the world sleeps, so too did samurai companions find comfort in the quiet spaces, their bond spoken without words. If you listen closely, the crackling fire whispers stories of endurance, loss, and hope, a balm that soothes even the weariest of souls. Each breath taken in these moments of solitude is a step toward peace. Each exhale a release of the weight carried through the day. Imagine the soft fabric of a blanket, the steady glow of firelight, the gentle brush of a breeze. These are the companions who hold you steady when the world feels vast and empty. What places bring you comfort when night deepens and thoughts wander restless? If it feels right, you might share a quiet memory or a place that brings you calm in the comments below. Such small sharing can light a path for others walking their own quiet journeys. As the fire burns low and the castle breathes deep into night, the silence grows soft, the stillness settling like a long-held breath. And so, the journey continues, drifting gently from these shadowed places into the turning seasons, where storm and blossom teach all things must change with grace. A breeze stirs the air on a quiet hillside, carrying with it the scent of moss and distant rain. Now and then, a cherry blossom breaks free, swirling gently, its petal barely brushing your cheek as it falls. Have you ever felt the weightlessness of a flower brushing close, or watched petals tumble in the wind during springtime? In these moments, it's easy to feel the world holding its breath, quietly turning beneath skies filled with drifting pink and gathering clouds. In the world of the samurai, the falling of cherry blossoms, called sakura, spoke silently of impermanence, of mujo. Mujo is a Japanese word meaning the inevitability of change, the fleeting nature of all things. Nothing lasts. A spring bloom, a summer's sunlight, even pain and hardship. Imagine standing beneath a sky so blue it almost aches, surrounded by a storm of petals, knowing that this beauty will only last a week, then vanish. Isn't that something we all feel sometimes? When our happiest days, vacations, celebrations, gentle evenings with those we love, pass too quickly, leaving a sweet longing behind? Then, without much warning, thunder rumbles through the mountains. The air sharpens with electricity. Big, clear raindrops begin to fall, first on your hair, then on your shoulders, and finally against sturdy layers of armor. The coolness is a sudden, bracing comfort, and the metallic tap of rain on steel is at once grounding and strange. Each drop cleanses the dust, darkens the stone, and makes every color, petals, grass, even your skin, richer and more alive. Have you ever stood in a summer storm, letting the rain soak through your clothes, all your worries briefly swept away in the sound and rush of water. For a samurai, both blossoms and thunder offer lessons in letting go. Blossoms fall, whether cherished or not. Storms pass even if feared. The taste of fresh mountain air after rain is sharp with promise, with the feeling that new growth is just one sunrise away. There's a coolness in your mouth, as if you've bitten into a breezy morning itself. Clean, wild, and a little exhilarating. Just as cherry blossom petals drift away on the wind, so too do our joys, fears, and cares. Yet instead of sorrow, there is a gentle reassurance. As many Americans may notice when leaves turn each autumn or snow melts in spring, every ending holds hands with a new beginning. The samurai learned this through years, through losses and victories, and through the thousand small goodbyes that make life so very precious. If it feels comforting, you might close your eyes for a moment and recall your own fleeting joys. Times when something beautiful surprised you, lingered only briefly, then was gone. No pressure, only an open invitation to notice the profound sweetness in change, even when it aches a little. With each roll of thunder and every petal that brushes your skin, remember, nothing is forever, and that is what makes this night, this story, and your own small, beautiful moments so worth cherishing. As the rain eases, let the freshness in the air guide you into the next light, where bells will ring in the morning and the comfort of a new beginning will gently unfold. The flow of time moves ever forward, and every breath, like every petal and storm, is a chance to start anew. The dawn begins softly, with the world still wrapped in a quilt of night and quiet. As the first light brushes the edges of rooftops, a gentle sound unfurls across the landscape, the deep, resonant toll of a temple bell. Its tones roll slowly, reverberating through mist-blanketed valleys and over dew-damp fields, asking all who hear it to awaken not just their bodies, but their spirits. Imagine the air, rich with the crisp scent of a fresh morning, the delicate sweetness of ripe rice ready for harvest, the earthiness of turned soil, and the subtle whisper of pine trees carried on a breeze. Somewhere nearby, the first birds begin to sing, little bursts of melody threading through cool air, each note soft but certain, like a secret kept between the waking world and the sun. Do you recall those still moments, perhaps in your own neighborhood or a quiet park, when the day begins almost imperceptibly? The way a brittle leaf might tremble on a branch, the gentle flutter of curtains as a window opens, and the slow stir of life inside homes as families begin their day. The temple bell continues its steady rhythm, a sound that, over many centuries, has marked the passing of time for countless souls. It's a sonic embrace, a piece of ritual continuity that links past to present. For samurai and villagers alike, it was an invitation to renew their dedication to the day, to their duties, and to the hope that tomorrow might hold something new. Alongside the bell, morning birdsong unfurls, sparrows chirping in dense underbrush, warblers offering trills from the treetops, and distant cranes letting out their haunting calls near lake reeds. Each bird contributes its song to a symphony of beginning, a tapestry of life unrolling in slow, natural time. Inside the home, the aroma of cooked rice, warm and slightly nutty, begins to rise from wooden hearths. It mingles with the smell of green tea steaming in earthenware cups and the faint trace of charcoal smoke from a nearby stove. The kitchen is a place of murmured preparation, where quiet conversations blend with the clink of dishes and the soft hiss of boiling water. There's a kind of calm in these first shared moments of day, the gentle unfolding of routines that, while simple, ground the soul and offer a moment of peace before the pace quickens. Take a deep breath with me now and imagine yourself here, wrapped in the early light, breathing in the cool air and letting the temple bell's steady chime fill you with calm. Feel your mind settling into the gentle rhythm of morning, your senses attuned to the small sounds and scents that signal a new beginning. What is your most peaceful morning ritual? Perhaps it is a soft stretch before rising, a sip of warm tea, or a quiet moment watching the world light up outside your window. If you feel comfortable, please share your ritual in the comments so our community may inspire and support one another as we greet new days gently. There is a quiet virtue in the simple acts that begin our mornings: drawing breath, unfolding from rest, savoring a routine that reminds us life goes on day after day. So as the bells toll and the birds sing their songs, let us lean into that calm together, preparing to step forward with open hearts and steady minds. The temple bell fades slowly, the final bird calls soften, and the scent of morning lingers like a promise. And as the sun climbs higher, we will follow the story onward to those quieter moments of rest and reflection that balance the duties and dreams of the waking world. Imagine a quiet evening settling softly around a samurai's chamber, where the faint glow of an oil lamp flickers and the scent of sandalwood lingers in the air. The soft rustle of a kimono sleeve accompanies a whispered prayer. Have you ever found yourself holding a burden so heavy it feels as though it weighs the very air around you? Sometimes it's the hardest to forgive another, or even ourselves. In the life of a samurai, strength was admired and kindness often kept private, but forgiveness held a sacred place in the warrior's heart. It was the quiet power that mended fractured spirits and fostered resilience amidst countless challenges. The scent of sandalwood was more than fragrance. It was a soothing balm, drawing the warrior inward, creating a space where wounds, both seen and unseen, might begin to heal. Just as many people today find comfort and strength in therapy or support groups, spaces where vulnerability is met with understanding, samurai, too, carried rituals and communities that nurtured forgiveness and compassion. What might forgiveness look like for you? A gentle letting go, a quiet acceptance, or a whispered prayer? If it feels right, imagine offering that kindness even to yourself. Forgiveness in samurai culture was not weakness, but a profound acknowledgement of our shared humanity. It meant releasing the chains of past wrongs to cultivate peace within and without, something essential for clear judgment in the heat of battle and in the stillness at home. In chambers scented with sandalwood and hushed with reverence, whispered prayers carried hopes for courage, healing, and mercy, not just for enemies, but for oneself and one's family. Perhaps you felt the weight of regret reminding you of mistakes not yet made peace with. In those moments, kindness can feel out of reach, but even the smallest acts of self-compassion spark a new beginning. A samurai, burdened by guilt, might write poetry or meditate silently beneath moonlight, seeking balance between regret and forgiveness. A practice not unlike journaling or mindfulness meditation today. If you feel moved, you might consider what small act today might usher in a measure of grace: a deep breath, a kind word, a gentle touch to your own arm. As the sandalwood smoke fades into the quiet night, the warrior exhales a lasting breath, surrendering pain and opening to peace. Forgiveness, like kindness, is the hidden heart of a warrior, carrying strength beyond the sword, holding space for healing across generations and lifetimes. As we carry this reflection forward, let its calm settle in you now, like a soft touch, a whispered prayer, a balm for the night's quiet journey. As tonight's story comes gently to its close, imagine yourself in a room softened by lamplight, where the world outside hushes to the sound of gentle rain kissing window panes. The flute's final, wistful notes linger in the air, their melody fading into memory. You might feel the soft coolness of fresh linens as you settle in, safe and warm, cocooned from the darkness beyond. Have you ever paused, just before sleep, to reflect on the places you've visited in your imagination, the stories you've heard, the feelings that rose and fell through you? Our journey tonight spanned lantern-lit festivals, silent castle walls, moments of joy, and flashes of quiet sorrow. A voyage shaped by the hearts of those who came before, and carried by your own gentle breath in the now. There is comfort, I hope, in knowing you're not alone. Across time, cultures, and continents, we gather, sometimes by campfire, sometimes by blue screens, sometimes in gentle words shared only in thought, with that same yearning for peace at the end of a long day. What story, ritual, or quiet habit brings you back to yourself when the world grows quiet? As sleep draws near, the last flute tones blend with the rhythmic patter of rain, a lullaby as old as memory. Each drop, each note, is a reminder that what matters most is not the battles, but the pauses in between, the moments when we rest, reflect, and reconnect. Before you drift off, only if you'd like, share below what touched you most in tonight's journey, or what helps you find peace and comfort as your own day comes to a close. No pressure at all. Sometimes your simple words can be a soft light for another listener, kindling hope or calm where it's needed most. Remember, the true legacy of every story, ancient or modern, is not just in the lessons learned, but in the connections kindled, in the kindness we show ourselves and others, in finding sanctuary and courage in community, and in letting rest fill the spaces struggle leaves behind. Tonight, as you close your eyes and listen to the gentle rain, may you feel held in the hush. May your dreams echo softly with lanterns, laughter, and distant songs, and may every new dawn carry you gently toward warmth, healing, and a sense of belonging that will not fade. Good night, dear traveler. Until we journey again, may peace and gentle dreams find you wherever you rest. If it feels right to you, before you drift into sleep tonight, maybe share a little about what touched your heart during this journey through the samurai's world. What story, feeling, or moment brought you peace or made you think? Or perhaps, what simple ritual helps you find calm at the end of your day? Your words might be a quiet light for someone else listening, helping them rest a little easier too.